Hi, I'm Terry Blaze, Managing Director of Freight 365. Welcome to another edition of All Things Freight. Today we're going to talk about 365 problems, but my freight ain't one. I'm joined by
Adam Glenister, VIP Account Manager.
And today we're going to talk about insurance. What is it? Why should you have it? And hopefully give you some helpful tips and pointers. So, Adam, insurance. What is it? Why should I have it? Why is it any good to me?
Well, I mean, everybody knows what insurance is. You know, you have many different insurances in day-to-day life: car insurance, home insurance, life insurance. You know, it's there to mitigate risk, to make sure that, you know, if something goes wrong, that you're covered. The risk is limited or removed, and you're not liable for, you know, a very big outlay in terms of
And I think that's important. I think a lot of people look at an insurance policy. Maybe you ship hundreds of times a year. You know, thank God nothing goes wrong. But on the odd occasion, it will go wrong. And it's on that odd occasion where, let's be honest, you're going to wish you had insurance.
Exactly. And like just like with, you know, say car insurance, you might think, I'm an amazing driver, I don't need car insurance. But you do, because something could happen that is completely out of your control.
Yes.
And quite a lot of the time in freight, a lot of things are out of your control. They're
out of your direct control. You're reliant on warehouses, on drivers, on airlines, on shipping lines.
So many different parties involved that, you know, the probability, you know, goes up. Every different person, that handles your shipment, you know, the chance and the risk goes up.
Yeah, so there's potential.
Yeah, potential for something to go wrong. But that's why insurance is important to have on every shipment, not just one shipment, not just, you know, two shipments. Have it on every shipment. You know, people know that some of the things that have happened, you know, within freight, we've discussed it on this podcast before. Some of the incidents. So it's definitely important that you get insurance.
So I was trying to think of some reasons to help people make a decision regarding insurance. Obviously, if you need a quote for freight insurance, speak to your freight forwarder. Every freight forwarder should be able to quote you for it. Speak to your own insurance company and see if you've got a freight liability insurance already included within your umbrella of insurances that you will have for your company. But something that occurs to me quite a lot, and a lot of people have said it when I've spoken to them about insurance, is they believe the freight forwarder has ample insurance to cover their shipment in the event of a loss, which is not correct.
No. I mean, quite a lot of freight forwarders, you know, especially in the UK, could either be or are members of a body called BIFA, which is...
British International Freight Association.
Thank you. That escaped me just then. And they have, or they provide, on all shipments, a sort of basic cover, which is...
Well, I think what it is with BIFA, they provide the terms and conditions for you to trade under.
Yeah.
And it's those terms and conditions which are accepted by the insurance company as part of your trading terms and conditions. As long as you adhere to those, you are covered for your freight liability insurance, which we're obliged to supply or arrange, make available to cover your shipment. The problem with that is it doesn't cover you for total loss.
Yeah.
It doesn't cover you for the total value of your cargo. I think the equation is 2 or 3 SDR per kilo.
Yep, standard drawing rights.
Right.
Which is the sort of measurement that BIFA use to sort of equate as to what coverage you would get, standard coverage you would get, as you say, if you're abiding by the BIFA terms and conditions, which, you know, is very minimal.
Yeah, because when it's a limited liability.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it works out pence per kilo return.
It's 2-3 pence max, something like that per kilo.
Yeah.
So, you know, you could have very light but expensive freight. You know, it could be worth $500,000 and it might only be 100 kilos, but you're not going to get much back based on that. Why something like freight insurance is really important, because, you know, that it mitigates that risk.
Yeah, okay. And what about in other instances like general average?
Well, I mean, yeah, general average is it's very important to have insurance to cover that, because if anyone didn't know, general average is a maritime law which goes towards saving a maritime venture, which the aim is to recover a vessel. A vessel might be in trouble for some unknown reason, and general average is the average of the shared expense for that,
caused by the catastrophe or the
whatever
drama.
it may be. Whether it's having to sacrifice some cargo off the side of the ship, or a collision like the Baltimore Bridge collision. Things like that. There are lots of extraordinary expenses, or let's say sacrifice of cargo, that the average of those costs goes then across the whole of the remaining containers on board.
And that's who's got cargo on that vessel will be expected to pay a portion of the recovery.
Costs. Yeah, whatever the cost were,
was involved.
If say, for example, a couple of containers with very, very expensive cars have to be pushed off the ship, then to save the ship, so to speak, from tipping over or whatever it might be, then the costs in recuperating whose freight that is gets then spread across the remaining containers on that ship.
Okay. So if you had insurance, would you be covered for general average loss?
Yes.
Okay. If you didn't have insurance, are you covered for general average loss?
No.
Right. Okay. So we know from using the Suez Canal collision, crash, grounding, whatever it was, that the fees being spoken about that came about because of that accident were huge. You're talking hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds.
Yeah.
And of course, because everybody knows that it's covered by the rule of general average, maybe, there's a bit of extra on top, possibly, because they've obviously got to cover fees. Maybe they don't know everything that would be included within that quick calculation of what they need to recover. And then that being spread out across everybody who had cargo on that vessel can be quite expensive.
Yeah. I mean, if you take even just a relatively large vessel, like a 40,000 TEU vessel, you've got to argue, even if there was, £400,000 worth of, costs to average across those containers, that's still a considerable chunk of money coming your way.
Yeah, if you've not planned for that.
And we're talking in the millions that some of these, costs are being incurred. So it's important to have insurance to cover general average.
Okay, so what we're saying is, don't rely on your freight forwarder to just provide all risk cover straight out the bag. If you haven't asked them for that, if you haven't specified it, if you haven't received a written quotation of it, then you haven't got it.
Yeah.
I think that's just a general rule for forwarders. If you're taking out your insurance policy, don't rely on somebody else taking it out. Like your supplier. Be in control of the cover that you need. Yeah, because you know what your product is, you know what the value is, you know how it's being transported. You'll have an idea of the routings and the mode of transport being used by talking to your forwarder. But make sure you take out the cover. I think you hold the policy. Don't rely on somebody else.
Much like every insurance, do that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I suppose so. Fair point.
So Terry, we touched a little bit on the solutions in that previous section, but what would you suggest is I mean, there is no ultimate solution for, stopping needing insurance, but what is the solution to prevent the risk,
Yeah, to try and reduce your risk, to try and reduce your exposure to it, I guess is a good way to put it. For sure. I mean, insure every shipment. You should do that. I may have said it earlier on. It's the one that you didn't insure is the one that's going to cost you the money.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about expensive product, you're talking about delay, you're talking about total loss. Try and reduce your own risk to that. That would be by getting an open risk or an all risk insurance policy.
And I think also one of the good things to do is speak to your forwarder, because there is a sort of stigma around insurance that it could be really expensive.
It's not
And
though.
you'd be surprised at the sort of costings you would get. Obviously, the more expensive your freight is, yes, the price for insurance is going to go up, obviously. But you would be surprised at freight insurance and all risk insurance at how much it would be to cover your shipment on one-off basis for one shipment, but also, like an overarching umbrella policy.
Well, there's actually two different types of policy you can take out in terms of longevity or coverage. If you took out an annual policy, for example, because you move cargo a lot, that would work out less expensive compared to if you was doing it on an ad hoc basis, just a shipment by shipment basis. So, yeah, as you say, speak to your forwarder, ask him what his opinion is, ask him if he can quote you, and compare it with your own insurance company. Speak to those guys as well, because you've all got business insurance, you've all got some liability. Maybe it's included in that, and in which case it doesn't cost you anything.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, it comes back to the main thing we say, and we've said in all of these podcasts so far, is just communicate with your forwarder. A good forwarder will.
He'll help you.
Yeah, exactly. They'll know what they're doing. They'll know how to sell and what you need and what cover you need, and they'll help you along. So just communicate with your forwarder.
Yeah, I think so. And just really to anybody who's wondering what type of things the all risk can cover you for, there's a list here, and if we think back to some of the things that have happened over the past few years, a good all risk insurance policy will cover you for earthquake, volcanic eruption or lightning strike, total loss of package during loading or unloading, washing overboard, general average sacrifice, which is really important, total loss of vessel, collisions, fire, explosion. There is a whole list of things that you'd be protected against. So
and what we'll do is in the link at the bottom of this video, we'll put a link to
that's a really good
what
idea.
is provided under those policies, so you can then take a look for yourself and see just how vital insurance policies and cover is for your freight, because you'll see from the list that a lot can happen.
Yeah, and if you've ever experienced the total loss, you'll appreciate the value of a good insurance policy.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, so don't assume you've got it. Always check it out. Speak to your forwarder. Definitely take out insurance for your cargo. It just makes sense.